the special counsel. All they get to do is write a report. They cannot indict. Joining us now to share his thoughts is Democratic Senator Richard Blumenthal of Connecticut. He is on the Judiciary Committee. Senator, is Rudy Giuliani right? A U.S. president cannot be indicted.
First, Alisyn, let me just say that when Robert Mueller is ready to announce his own conclusion about whether a sitting United States president can be indicted, I think he will do it for himself, not through Rudy Giuliani. So I'm somewhat dubious that the special counsel has articulated this position through former Mayor Giuliani.
I mean, Giuliani, just to clarify for our viewers, Giuliani said even this morning, as recently as a few minutes ago, that he was in touch with Robert Mueller's assistants in the office, and they said that they would follow Department of Justice guidance, which is, and the precedent is, but I want to get your take, a sitting U.S. president cannot be indicted.
And that's the real point here, that the Department of Justice guidelines say that a president cannot be indicted. It has never been tested in court. There's no precedent for it. I will grant you that there are a lot of legal scholars who say that a president cannot be indicted while in office. I happen to believe, having reviewed a lot of the same law, that a president can be indicted. Why? Because no one is above the law. The president has profoundly important duties of office, but those responsibilities can be reconciled with an indictment and a delay of the trial until he is out of office. The danger with putting him above the law is that a statute of limitations can run, a potential criminal liability may be lost.
Yeah.
And that's why I think that an indictment, but not a trial, is the right way to go.
Okay, but let's say that you're wrong, and let's say that in fact the precedent stands and he cannot be indicted. Then what has this year of the Mueller investigation gotten us? Where are we after a year? Where are we after 2 years? If something is found to have gone wrong, but the president can't be indicted?
Well, first, you rightly drew the distinction a little bit earlier in the show between an indictment and a subpoena. There is, in my view, and in the view of most legal scholars, no question that the president can be subpoenaed and that that compulsory appearance before the grand jury would be enforceable. Under the United States Supreme Court decision in the Nixon tapes case, he was subpoenaed, the subpoena was enforced, and he had to turn over the tapes, even though it was not a prosecution of himself. And so these are two distinguishable processes, and you're absolutely right to draw the distinction. Where are we with the Mueller investigation? Well, there have been 22 indictments and 4 convictions of people close to the president, in fact, intimately involved in either the Trump administration or his campaign, including his former national security advisor, Michael Flynn, Rick Gates, George Papadopoulos, all involved potentially in Russian interference in the campaign
or
and the
lying
election.
to investigators. I mean, that's what they were pleading guilty to.
If you look at the transcripts released just yesterday, and they are only one small snapshot, what you find is the Trump campaign actively solicited and likely received assistance from the Russians during the last election. If you look at Donald Trump Jr.'s testimony about the meeting on June 9th at Trump Towers, if you look at his direct messages with WikiLeaks about the hacking and theft of the Clinton emails, if you look at his answers, which are evasive and contradictory, and if you sat in that room, as I did, and watched his body language, what you see is growing evidence of Russian involvement in the campaign, but also the knowledge and participation of the Trump campaign in that interference.
Okay, I want to get to that because we do have those transcripts now, courtesy of the Judiciary Committee. They released 2,000 pages. So here is one of the moments that you're talking about. The question to Don Jr. Does your father use a blocked number on his cell phone or any phones that you call him on? Don Jr. says, I don't know. The question is, so you don't know whether this might have been your father? Don Jr. says, I don't. That is in reference to these blocked calls. We have a graphic. On June 6th, there was a 4-minute call at 4:27 p.m. At 8:40 p.m., there was an 11-minute call. All of these came from a blocked cell phone number, or a blocked number. June 9th, 2 hours after the meeting in Trump Tower with the Russians, there was a 3-minute call from that same phone number. Do you know who that phone number, who owns that blocked phone number? Is there any way to find out?
We have guesses and speculation, but your question, which is profoundly important, is the reason that the Judiciary Committee investigation must proceed with subpoenas to Donald Trump Jr. for additional documents and for his testimony, as well as to Jared Kushner, who was at that June 9th meeting, and possibly Paul Manafort, even though he is under indictment. But here is the main point, going back to your earlier question. We know that Robert Mueller, the special counsel, knows way more than we do.
So you think
That
he
has been the
knows
pattern.
who has this blocked number? They have the technology to figure that out.
They may well, I can't say for certain, but the reason why that question is important is the prior question in that very transcript about whether Donald Trump Jr. discussed the June 9th meeting with his father, the president. We know that the president helped concoct a false version of that meeting, saying it was only about childhood adoptions and the Magnitsky Act, when in fact, very likely he knew from Donald Trump Jr. that it was about dirt on Hillary Clinton. Remember, Donald Trump Jr. said when he was offered this harmful, incriminating evidence about Hillary Clinton, I love it. And so the best guess is that sometime shortly after that meeting or before, he told the President of the United States about it. He may have done it in that blocked phone call. We need to continue this investigation through the Senate Judiciary Committee, more important, through the special counsel, and that's why we need to protect the special counsel.
Yeah, you need to be able to connect some of those dots that you're obviously speculating about. Senator Richard Blumenthal, we always appreciate you coming in with your perspective. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Chris.
So we're 1 year into the special counsel's Russia investigation. Where do things stand? It's a hard question because we just don't know that much. Former